I will also say, guys, that I think that we all know, and this election cycle in particular has also presented very legitimate questions about the challenges of women running for president of the United States.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's obvious. Just look at what's happened. Look at what's happened. There are no women currently in this race. And we can have a longer discussion about it, but the reality is that there's still a lot of work to be done to make it very clear that women are exceptionally qualified and capable of being the commander-in-chief of the United States of America.
Gender in this race, that is the trap question for every woman. If you say, yeah, there was sexism in this race, everyone says whiner. And if you say, no, there was no sexism, about a bazillion women think, what planet do you live on? I promise you this, I'll have a lot more to say on that subject later on.
I'm sure she will. She's like, it's the reason that I'm not going to be given the nuclear codes on the biggest job in the country is people just won't vote for a woman president. No, it's not true. And also, let's just step back for a moment as Kamala Harris, we had Kamala and Warren, we could play others too, are complaining about how we don't have a woman presidential contender. First of all, it's not true. Tulsi Gabbard is still running for president. And I also think it's so interesting that the way this is framed is immediately skips past. It immediately jumps beyond, this is a Democrat primary. So is the Democratic Party full of sexists? Is the Democrat Party full of people that are unwilling to vote for a woman to be president? Because can't blame this one on Republicans. It's not a Republicans thing. So, and also, this is just, why it is whining. It's whining. Elizabeth Warren is not a strong candidate. She didn't win her own home state, for heaven's sake. She came in third in Massachusetts behind Biden and Bernie Sanders. She had the most bizarre political self-inflicted wound I've ever seen, with they're like, I'm 1,024th Native American. See? I win. Who wants some powwow chow? No. We're not just going to pretend that didn't happen. And if you remember, because liberals like to tell us about this all the time, Hillary Clinton actually got more in the popular vote than Trump, even though that's not the contest that's being run. And I can't emphasize that enough. A lot of people that live in California and New York State don't vote for Republicans because they know they're going to the vote's going to go to the Democrat. A lot of campaigning is focused on battleground states that is not focused on getting the vote out. That's not the contest that's being run. So it's a stupid point. But in terms of the willingness of people to just in general cast votes for a female to be president, I mean, we've already run the experiment. Plenty of people are willing to vote for a woman to be president. And I think a lot of people would it feels good. There's all this research that social scientists, who aren't really scientists, but they call themselves that, political scientists, again, not science, it's politics, but they'll look into this, and by polling and by the studies, people vote. A lot of why they vote is a result of how it makes them feel to cast that vote. What does it say about me to vote for this person or to vote for this proposition if it's some kind of a referendum, right? How do I feel about myself when I do that? And this is why we kept hearing about how, Obama had to overcome so much racism in the to become president. No, people were excited in general at the prospect of voting for the first African-American president. It made them feel good. Anybody who was ideologically open to Obama's agenda felt great voting for the first African-American president. And a lot of people who were, independent-minded or whatever, they probably voted for Obama in part because they wanted to vote for the first African-American president. The same thing would be true of voting for the first woman president. You want to be on that groundbreaking, history-making victory train, right? But you don't want to do it if you think the person who you're voting for happens to be terrible. That's just the case with Elizabeth Warren. People don't like her. The media can maybe push her far enough so that she can continue to be a senator from Massachusetts. But just doesn't have national level appeal. You know, she's somebody who there's nothing about her that you can point to and say, yeah, that feels like it's really authentic and really good. In fact, the best stuff that she's done in the past, you know, her book on the two income trap is very interesting. And I think that that's something that does deserve more public discussion. Why is it now the standard that so many people, particularly in urban areas, right, in cities, it is expected in our culture generally? Some of you, of course, are going to say, no, it's not. But if you live in New York, if you live in California, you live in a lot of these blue strongholds, two parents working, even with small kids at home, that's the expectation. Why is that? It was not always the case. That has changed now. And there's a lot of complicated reasons we could cite for why that is. Some of them are economic, some of them are social, but it has certainly changed this country in ways that we haven't really fully come to grips with yet. She wrote a book on that. She had interesting ideas on that, but now she's like Bernie Light. She's the female Bernie who's a little more palatable to the establishment, and so that was what she was going for. And I just think it actually damages the future prospects of other women on either side of the aisle who would vote for president to have this consistent, oh, it was sexism. No, we make fun of everybody who runs for president, male, female, you name it. We make fun of every candidate. We judge every candidate based on who they are, what they stand for, what they say. And there's really, I just don't believe this myth that the libs tell themselves that it's because Hillary was a woman that she didn't win. And she of course, has blamed it on sexism. It's sour grapes. I mean, this is sore loser stuff. It's sore loser stuff from Elizabeth Warren, to be sure. I mean, this Pelosi says the same thing. She's going on, Pelosi. Play 17.
But I do think there's a certain element of misogyny that is there. And some of it isn't really mean-spirited. It just isn't their experience. Many of them will tell you they had a strong mom, they have strong sisters, they have strong daughters, but they have their own insecurities.
It's just a cheap shot. Is it cheap? Based on what? Why is she saying this? There are insecurities that people would not vote for a woman president. Maybe it's just not a good candidate. I think what's going to happen, by the way, I'm just going to put this out there. I think you're going to have, and I'm not going to name, I'm not in the prediction business in politics for at least the next couple of weeks because it looks like Biden is going to be the nominee. Whoops. But I think you're going to have the first president of the United States be a Republican who's a female. I think you're going to have the first female president of the United States be a Republican. And that will be a fascinating test of liberals who claim that they're shattering the ultimate glass ceiling, and because they've created this whole identity, which I know we talked a lot yesterday about this, and it was kind of an intense first hour of the show, but I think it's an important and intense topic, and we have to speak honestly about it when you have women shrieking and screaming on the steps of the Supreme Court about how proud they are of their abortions. I almost want to cry for them. Like I tear up thinking about what they've done to those unborn babies and to themselves and to their souls in the process. But we have to move on to other topics today. Liberal women, though, have adopted this mentality that they're to be female. First of all, I got so much today. I don't know. I came into work today just ready to fire on all cylinders. First of all, liberal women have a difficult time now accepting the progressive agenda or they should have a difficult time with it because it doesn't really allow for a clear definition of what a woman is. Really mean that. What is a woman according to libs? It's not a biological state. It might be a psychological state, but it's not a psychological state that anybody could particularly explain. They'll say, and there's a lot of incoherence here too. They'll say that young boys and girls don't play with different toys because of biology. But then the moment somebody says that they're trans, particularly if it's a boy who thinks he's a girl, who's 8 or 9 years old, they want to start dressing him like a girl, playing with girl toys. They want all the trappings of female stuff, but there's no biological connection between these things, they'll tell you. So then why the big push to have the kid playing with the female stuff and dressing as a female. It's incoherent. You can't make sense of it. They can't define what a woman is. But here is what they will define for you. The left believes that to be considered a woman, to be in good standing with the female gender / whatever that includes that's not actually female now, you have to adopt certain political positions. And if you do not adopt those political positions, internalize them, fight for them, believe them, shriek about equal pay when it's a myth, that the pay gap is because of sexism. It's just not true. Economists have looked at it over and over. Every time they come back, it's not true, but they say it. Claim that men and women are equal. Claim that there's no important biological difference between male and female strength, endurance, and other things, so that we need to have women in forward combat roles, even if they can't actually meet the standards. We need to have men competing in women's sports. All these different things. You have to accept all of that. But the single most important thing to be a woman, if you're going to be considered a real woman by the left, by the Democratic Party in America today, you must be absolutely devoted to abortion as a fundamental female right. And if you are not, you're not actually a woman anymore. And we will see this play out if we do have a female Republican candidate for the presidency, and there are a few that come to mind that I think are going to, after Trump hopefully wins re-election, but there are a few that I think we could all point to and say, that would be probably a formidable candidacy. You will see the media without even batting an eyelash, without even a second thought, start running with, this isn't really a win for women, because this Republican presidential contender isn't really a woman, because she believes in, traditional family and male and female roles and is pro-life. That's pretty much, if you answer yes to those things, you're not really a woman according to Democrats. You're a traitor. You're outside. You have female biology, but not the female, membership card or whatever. That's where we are in America today. It's pretty upsetting. It's pretty absurd, but it's the truth.